Welcome to Conversations with Spirit, where we dive deep into the mystical and enchanting realms of spirituality. I'm your host, Spiritual Medium Lauri Albert, and together with special guests, we explore a world of spiritual insights and experiences, as well as offer captivating mediumship and oracle card readings. Tune in for enlightening conversations that will uplift your soul and expand your consciousness. Hello, everyone. How is everyone tonight? I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. Welcome to Conversations with Spirit. I want to tell you that I do this show in conjunction with evolveme.com, which is a platform of all things metaphysical and spiritual website, whose mission it is to facilitate and inspire and empower personal enlightenment to all that seek it. So check it out if you can, evolveme.com. And that's evolve me without the E. Evolve, EVOLVME.com. So there you go. So tonight, this is going to be such a lively conversation. Hello to everybody that is joining so far. I'm so excited. I have a very special guest with us tonight. Her name is Lori Sheffer, and Lori is a shamanic medium and healer with over 14 years of experience in the field. Specializing in Andean shamanism, Lori has dedicated her practice to studying the lineage of the Q'ero of Peru. Her unique approach integrates shamanic training and psychic mediumship, which is so cool, allowing her to bridge the gap between worlds and provide profound healing experiences. Through a blend of shamanic techniques, including journeying, sound channeling, soul retrievals, soul connections, and guidance from spiritual guides and ancestors, Lori facilitates a deeply immersive healing process. Now, this is the important part, you guys, where clients actively engage in their own healing journey. This approach empowers individuals to release old belief systems, confront their shadows, honor their ancestors, and gain a fresh perspective on their lives. So welcome to the show, Lori. I am so excited that you are here because this conversation is going to be so fun. So welcome to the show. Yay.
Thank you.
I want to jump right in because we have a lot of people here. Actually, we have a ton of people here. We are live all over the place. We're live on a couple of Instagram pages, a couple of Facebook pages, and what am I saying? YouTube, right? So yeah. So hello to Soulful Wanderer and Joanna Meditation and Autumn Sunrise. Hi, Autumn Sunrise. Thornhill Matthew and Carol and Transcend with Debbie. Hi guys, nice to see you here. Thanks for coming. EvolveMe.com is here. So yay. All right. So I want to jump right in. Oh, Dose of Sunshine and to Shay and Jennifer. Oh, Jennifer, nice to see you. All right. So we're going to be taking questions. Okay. Actually, Lori is going to be taking questions because, oh, you're Norma. Hi, Norma. Because I want you guys to really start to understand what shamanism is. And that's where I want to start off, if that's okay, Lori.
Sure.
I would love to, first of all, I would love for if you could sort of, and I know we were talking about this earlier, it's kind of difficult to sort of define shamanism, but can you define shamanism?
Yeah, I'm going to do it. I was looking at definitions because I had my moment where I was like, oh my God, this has got to be perfect. And instead, I'm going to, do it in a way that to me makes sense. And to me, it's there are these indigenous cultures all over the world. And of course, there's not as many as there used to be. And each one has their own beautiful way of connecting with spirit. And stories play a large role in how it's passed on, right? The tradition is passed on from generation to generation. So you have that beautiful story component. You have the connection that shamanism has with nature, it connects with everything. And I'll use Andean shamanism. So the practice that is studied up in the Andes, and specifically Peru, of the Quero, who have the lineage of the Inca. And so the mountain spirits, so the spirits of the mountains, everything has a spiritual component. Every living thing has a spiritual component.
Yeah.
And every living thing is made of energy. And so for those of you, I was a special ed teacher, and I tried to teach science. Everything is energy, right? Nothing is wasted. Everything is recycled.
Yeah.
And so think about that from a spiritual way of being, that the very air that we breathe, the very air that I put out, is not wasted.
No.
It is going somewhere. So everything is connected by these energetic strands. So for me, shamanism are those connections that you can't see, right? They're not like, it's not like the kite string. That I can hold the kite to, and I know the kite is in the sky. Instead, these are spiritual connections that you can see in other ways, feel in other ways, but they're beyond the physical, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
So then it's also connecting with Pachamama, Mother Earth, who is, sacred. I mean, we cannot live without Pachamama. She provides us sustenance. And then we have the four directions. We have the elements. We have animal spirits, tree beings, stone beings, plant beings. And it's all part of shamanism. And it's all ways that we can work with every aspect of nature, every aspect of life in all of its forms, if that, makes sense. And so to me, shamanism is my faith. It's like, in it, you don't have to give up your religion per se. My wife once said, well, do I have to give up Jesus? Because I'm not giving up Jesus. And no, you don't. It's the understanding that it's just, shamanism really is the understanding that we are part of everything, and everything is a part of us.
Yeah.
In the nutshell, does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. But here's my question though. So so you were talking about in Peru, the Andean mountain, or is it the Andean mountains? In
The
Peru,
Andes,
right?
yes, the Andean mountains.
Where you studied, right? And you met Don Mariano, and so you are like a student of his. Is that correct? Right?
Well, yes. So my first studying happened right here in New York, with a teacher, Eileen O'Hare, where I studied. Actually, I took a 14-month course, and then from there, continued to work with her, apprentice with her, for, I think it was a total of 4 years. I worked with her. So I started there. Don Mariano was coming to Connecticut to do workshops. So I took workshops with him there. I didn't get to see him in Peru. We went to Peru when we studied and did lots of work there. But but I've been working on Zoom with him for a number of years.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. Okay. And so I guess I'm just asking that because is there a difference between so in the Native American culture, right? Or should I say that indigenous culture, right? There's a part of shamanist, do I want to say shamanism or shamanistic tendencies? I don't even know what the correct wording would be there, but that's different than the way you studied. Is that correct?
Well, if you look at the different traditions,
kind of all the same in a sense.
Well, they share similarities and differences, which makes sense because because I'm a social studies teacher as well, so therefore we know that cultures, the land, the society, is all impacts culture, and also impacts spiritual beliefs, right? So it depends on where you are. It would make sense that if you're in the desert, that your belief system would be influenced by the desert versus,
Right.
in the Andes in Peru and throughout, the Andes are much more than just in Peru.
Yeah.
They believe that the mountains have spirits, so they pray to the different mountain spirits.
Okay.
And so,
I
and
always
so,
wondered, because I always wondered, there's similarities, but there are differences as well.
yes,
So that's
yeah,
was always my question about that, which I think is so important, I have to say. I know this might sound kind of strange to say it this way, but I feel like that's important to appreciate the differences in the different sort of cultures, but you studied like Don Mariano is like he's tell us about who Don
so
Mariano is.
Don Mariano Quispe Flores. So to backtrack, in
Sorry, was
the
I getting ahead of it?
yeah, jumping ahead. So Don Mariano Quispe Flores is Quero. He is an indigenous person from high up in the Andes. The Quero live they live above Cusco, so they live at like 15, 16, 17,000 feet
Oh wow.
up.
Right.
And the story goes like this, that when the Spanish came to South America, they completely wiped out, indigenous people, or made it hard for them to practice their spirituality.
Right.
And the Quero managed to escape to the mountains.
Oh wow.
They hid up there for a very long time.
Wow.
And so what is taught is that their belief systems, I don't really like the term is pure, but it is, more pure because they were hidden and they're able to pass on the beliefs, the teachings of the Inca,
Right.
that they've held tight to.
Okay.
And they came down out of the mountains. Some of they're called Pacos.
Okay.
That's what their term for shaman. And some of the Pacos came down from the mountains in the late 40s, 50s, and a few, because they were told, by spirit, that it was time to share their teachings because there was going to be great shifts and changes, and
Right.
and so they came down. And since then, like Don Mariano Quispe Flores, who's in his 80s, would be, the son and grandson of some of those first people that came down.
Oh wow.
And the idea is that the Quero believe it's really important to share these teachings. And for us, so this is the time when the condor and the eagle come together. So that's South America and North America.
Oh,
And that it's important for us, those of us who are learning these teachings, to now take them and share them with others.
oh my gosh. And so that is what your sort of calling is then.
Yes.
Ooh, that
Yeah.
is so
In a
cool.
sense. Calling, our life sort of guides us, and sometimes we don't even know, where we're being called
Yeah.
until we get there.
Yeah. Yes. Totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. Oh my gosh. Um, I love how you call yourself a shamanic medium. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, sure. When I first, I started to study shamanism before I became a medium. The truth is, my family is um, I gifted, and we all have the ability to have mediumship. So gifted is such a strange word, and
Yeah.
it's what we use.
Yeah.
But my entire family is strong in being able to see the other side and all those things, but they don't like it. So it's shut down, right? And so I had shut myself down. So when I got involved in shamanism, I did it because I was going through some major stuff in my life. Some old traumas were being re-traumatized. I was being re-traumatized. I had lost my job, and all these things were happening to the point that my self-esteem was totally in the gutter.
Right.
And I was like just a wreck. And I happened to find this ad for this shamanic class, and I sort of knew I wanted to go in that direction. So I joined it, and it happened to be this Andean tradition, which was this. It's like maybe now I think of a 16 months, because you have the four directions: the south, the west, the north, and the east. And in each direction, you were like in the south, you're working with Sachamama, the snake. So you're shedding skin. And I always love that. And when I was teaching, I tell the kids, look, our bodies are growing. You can't expect to stay the same. Of course, you're going to be afraid. Of course, you're going to have all these things. But we have to admit that, our skins are growing too, right? We're getting bigger, so we got to shed. And then after we shed, we go into the west. And that's where Odorongo, Black Jaguar, is. And there is where we really face our shadows. And I like to say that's when you open the door and you say hello to your monsters, monsters in the closet. And then in the north, that's the hummingbird, and that's the direction. That's where we really work with our ancestors and the way we see ourselves, the story, blah, blah, blah. And then we go into the east and we work with eagle, where we begin to learn to soar so that we can gain new perspective.
Okay. Right.
And that, so anyway, I was doing that. And in the midst of that, I started to see again, and like big time see.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it became unpleasant because they were showing up all over the place, right? You people need to go. And my teacher said to me, she says, you might want to think about going to a spiritualist church and taking, one of those development circles.
Yeah.
And so I did. I found one, and that was really the beginning of me beginning to accept the fact that I could do this mediumship. Yeah. And then, so I tried to be, so I went to more and more mediumship classes, spiritualist mediumship classes. And it was, some of it was very rigid, and there's a certain way of doing things. And at times, it was like, I felt conflicted between that and my shamanism. Right. And then when I began to sort of let go, I began to realize that I had my own way, and that the two really blended for me. So that's how I got there, to be able to blend the two, which, just kept shifting and changing the more I did it.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful way to heal. I mean, we talk, especially in spirituality, we talk so much about having to heal and the different modalities of healing and everything. But this, when you work, I don't know when you're doing the work, when you were doing your work, I'm going to put it this way. When you were doing your healing work, you were working in a shaman, how would you say it? You were working in a shamanistic way?
Well, for instance, it's so funny because through a lot of, the trainings, the teachings that I've been taught and have healed me the most are through activities. And, for instance, don't forget, you have drumming, so you're doing drumming for journey work. And I'm I had a hard time with journeying, even though I'm very visual. Journeying was difficult to get my mind out of the way. So so I could journey. But, sure. The drumming and rattling, you have a lot of rattling. So we'd sit in these circles, and everybody would start out by rattling, and I couldn't keep a beat. I had to watch it go around, or I had to drum, and I couldn't do it. So one of the things we worked on with my teacher was the fact that the reason I couldn't keep the beat was I wasn't in tune with my own heart.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's did you just kind of go, whoa?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I was like, I had a hard time with it. And then all this trauma, and it's like you're doing these crazy activities. And so this is my mesa, and inside of here are these stones, and each stone I have worked with. Okay. And originally, when I was first doing my mesa, there was my mother's stone, my father's stone, in a sense, working on my mother and then my father issues. And,
Sure.
so you're working on your stuff and it's going into your mesa. And then in a sense, you're healing yourself, right? Because your mesa is your altar.
Right.
And so through doing that work, you're healing yourself. So all those activities, it's all right in here.
Wow.
And the more
Wow.
work you do, the more powerful it becomes. And
Yeah.
then I don't need it to heal me so much anymore. Now I get to heal others and I get to heal the earth with it, with the prayer, with the intention, with
Yeah.
all those things.
Oh, that is so amazing. Oh my gosh. So I understand it now. And what's so cool about this conversation is that you have you have described shamanism in such a way that I feel like that I understand it more, like, because it's like it's about really, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but this is what I'm kind of getting. It's about, healing yourself through the energy of the world, through the energy of the trees and the wind
Right.
and all of that, and then healing yourself to the point where, and then receiving like the gifts, or gifts, whatever you want to call it, or the mediumship and that sort of thing, and then sharing it with the world. Oh my gosh, that is like so extraordinary. I
I
mean,
like to think, when I was a girl, I grew up in an alcoholic home, a really dysfunctional home, and so there was this pine tree out back, and we had like 5 acres, and
mm,
um, and there's this huge pine tree, and I used to go under that tree as a girl, as a teenager, and that's the one place I felt completely safe,
oh
and
wow.
and that was my special place. And when I was out there, I could pour my heart and soul to that tree.
Yeah.
I was just like, and I would walk out there, and I was just one with nature. And and I would, like, this is before any of this, right? And I'm just a teenager. I'm just a kid. And I
Yeah.
could feel the power of the trees. I could feel, and it's the one place I felt safe. And it
Huh.
was, the total love.
Yeah.
Or when I'm standing in Lake Michigan, and which is for me is my, sacred water, because that's where
Yeah.
I grew up, so I grew
Sure.
up near there. So the spirits of Lake Michigan are very much a part of me. And I didn't understand all that until I really got into shamanism and understood that, honestly, spirit has been speaking me through nature my whole life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just
Did you
didn't.
not realize it until?
Yeah, I didn't have the key to unlock the door
Yeah.
until I got to this particular type of shamanism,
Yeah.
that really helped me to understand and just take that, and then through working with my traumas and soul retrievals, really going back to that kid who was so
Yeah.
afraid and had no self-esteem,
Yeah.
and now realizing, wait a minute. And that's where, like, like, we're you and I are doing a retreat with, other people this summer, and we talk about the themes and these themes in our life that we want to change.
Yeah.
And that's where, for me, shamanism has helped me to do that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, because when I was reading your bio, I was, well, first of all, obviously I was totally before we went live, you guys, I was totally gushing because, oh my God, Lori, your bio is like so incredible. But mostly because it really spoke to me. Like, because I'm going to read this part again, this one little part, because it says what she wrote in there was, this approach empowers individuals to release old belief systems. I mean, right there, that's like enough for your price of admission to start with. Like, forgetting the fact that there is confronting your shadow sides, right? Honoring your ancestors and gaining new, fresh perspectives on your life. I mean, that who wouldn't want that? I mean, of course, I live in a different sort of reality in terms of, I sort of live in a different reality in terms of spiritual, because, work with a lot of spiritual people, right? But that, like, can you imagine being somebody who's just unsure about where to go in their life and what to do, and they know that they want something but they aren't sure, but this is such a beautiful way to start your journey. I mean, that's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
I like to think, it's like our life is this etheric tapestry, right? This beautiful tapestry.
Yeah.
And but when you think about from the moment we're born, our souls, come here and we're part of these bodies. But so many people, so many events impact our tapestry,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so what happens is all these things are going into this tapestry, and oftentimes they're, as we get older, we begin to go, wait a minute, you know, that's a crop. That's a crock up, you know what? Um,
Yeah.
and and I don't believe that about myself anymore, or that's not working for me. I
Right.
think, the fact that I'm gay, and what I went through to be able to accept that, right? Thinking that my family wouldn't love me anymore, and all those things, that I'm not lovable because I'm gay. And
Yeah.
that, think about the amount of people who go through that. And it's like,
Absolutely.
because, and that's a terrible thing. And but we are all lovable. We
Yeah.
are all lovable. And sometimes we need to do the work so we can believe we're lovable. Maybe
Yeah.
that person over there, that's their problem, not mine. I
Yeah.
know I'm lovable.
Yeah.
And, I know I'm worthy, but that's the
Yeah.
work that we have to put into it, and sort of working with that tapestry and going, yep, that thread's coming out. Yeah, that one's coming out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Ooh,
for
this
sure.
one's beautiful. I'm putting this one in.
Oh my gosh. I just love that. So, okay, so here's a weird sort of question. I think I'm becoming known for like the strange questions, right? So, I have taken classes, but just what is the word, like the just primary, just basic classes in shamanism. And I love what I learned, but and I know for a fact that a couple of people, at least on here, have done the same thing. So, where would you suggest that people go after that? Because how do you pick what teacher is like, right? I mean, obviously, yeah, let spirit guide you. I get that. But where do you find the right teachers? Like, yeah.
When I first was deciding that, it's funny
Mhm.
because when I was going through my major life crisis over the job and everything like that, I was in therapy, and I told my therapist, I'm like, I think I'm ready, because there's a lot of stuff in my past and why I stayed away from indigenous, stuff, and because I was raised around um, off reservation native people who there was just a lot of stuff there, and I just was like, well, I'm not native, so therefore I shouldn't be doing this, right? Because
Right.
there's all
Yeah.
this I want
Yeah.
to do to respect.
Right.
And then finally I hit this thing, I'm like, I just need this, so I want to do this respectfully, I want to do this. So I started to look up, like, I live near Omega, so I live near not too far from Rhinebeck, New York, which is makes it lucky for me.
Yeah.
So I started to look there in a catalog, and I found a couple of courses. So I took a course with someone named Hank Wesselman, who now has crossed over in the Hawaiian shamanism, and so I took a couple of different courses so I could get a feel for it, for what called me, and then so you
Yeah.
got two things. One is, trying some things out, because they are different, in different traditions may come at you. It's like, I don't know. It'd be like doing the difference between Tai Chi and a couple of the other things out there, or some yogas, and
Right.
some things call one person and not the other. So yeah, you can just check a couple out and then say, wow, I really, that one really hits me. Now, like Anya and shamanism, there are practitioners all over this country. And
Okay.
so you can type in Anya and shamanism and you can find information about it. There are now Zoom classes out there.
Yeah.
Um, there are some really good websites now that also do classes. So it's like, that's a way to check it out, and then slowly, begin to find. It's hard too, because some cost a lot of money, and
Sure.
that's an issue too.
Yeah.
And we have to be honest. Not
Yeah.
everybody has the money to be, putting into all the classes.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah. So how
But
can
what's
you
great is
do that?
that, we've got Zoom.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I mean,
And
I think
here's
that's
what I would say,
fantastic. You don't
if you're
have
in
to
an
travel, right?
area, right, and if you're in an area like I'm here in Hudson Valley in New York, and so like if you can find a drum circle, if you can find things like this, right? They don't cost a lot of money,
Mhm.
and so it's just start there,
Yeah.
start there. That's a great place to do it. Find a drum circle, find, and oftentimes when you even if you're doing like you're going to a yoga studio, sometimes even through something like that, you might find people who are doing shamanism.
Okay.
So it's just
Sure.
like take
Yeah.
the step, go out there and start something. And
Yeah.
then I bet you 10 to 1 it leads to something else.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And you know what? I haven't been on Meetup, but boy, I hear a lot about, stuff happening. You can find like-minded people on Meetup. I mean, I think that could be kind of a cool place too,
Yeah.
Um, so if somebody wants to kind of dip their toe in the water of shamanism, what would you suggest aside from finding, a place to go? What would you suggest? Are there books that you can read or like,
Tons of them out there. Sandra Ingerman, and there are, she does the way she is taught it sort of strips away the different, like how do I want to say this? So the cultural, each there's lots of different types of shamanism, but she strips it down to a core, right? Core
Mhm.
shamanism,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So like Sandra Ingerman, she has books out there.
Mhm.
Um, uh, there are many, many of them out there. And if you read the reviews, you can pretty much pick up information about, what they're about. And
Yeah.
but what I can say is even if you like are just being called, I have all these stones. In Quechua, stones are called cuyas.
Okay.
And 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 so one of the things you can do is begin to, when you're taking a walk, um, it's one way to get out of your head is just to imagine, you're walking and suddenly there's a stone, a kuya, and you pick up this kuya and you walk with it and just feeling it. When you're sitting somewhere, sit against a tree and allow yourself to literally feel that tree. And so, or you're sitting on the ground, really allow yourself to feel the ground, feel your butt on the ground. And
Okay.
so also you can become more connected with nature on your own.
Okay. Okay. I love the idea of taking a walk and just picking up a stone and walking with it. I love that. You always have such a beautiful way of describing these things. I love that, right? Um I know that kind of coming to terms with your shadow selves is a thing, right? And I know it can be very it can be re-traumatizing. It can be very what's the word? Very a big thing to do. Um However, I'm wondering, like, can you explain what our shadow selves actually are? And by the way, if anybody has a question that you would like to ask Lori, now is your chance. Like if you ever had any questions about what it would be like to be a shamanic medium or just a shaman. You don't necessarily have to be a medium. Am I right? I think that's true. Is that right? You don't have to be a medium to be to be a shamanistic practitioner. Is that
No, absolutely not.
okay?
There are many shamanic practitioners who do not do mediumship,
Yeah.
and vice versa, of
Yeah.
course.
But that's
Uh,
what I love about what you do because you incorporate it all,
yeah,
you
and
know.
it's and I think there definitely is a great way to blend it. But back to your question, can you repeat your question just so I can
Oh,
answer?
well, how
Traumas.
do we sort of work on, or what is our shadow selves? Like what is your
So
shadow
shadow
self?
self is just a nice way to say, in a sense, that
Yeah.
throughout our lives, there are little things that happen to us and big things. For instance, we were, we were raising a little girl for a while, and she fell off her bike. And I was like suddenly channeling my mother and wanted her to get right back up on that bike. I didn't want any time. I just wanted to get right back up on that bike and just keep moving. And my wife, who's my wife now, and she's like, just stop that. Just leave her alone, will you? And what I realized is that was this piece of myself that was suck it up, buttercup. I grew up with my parents. You weren't allowed to, if you fell and hurt yourself, no one really kissed your boo-boos too much.
Yeah.
They put a Band-Aid on them or deal with them and then throw you right back outside. You watch TikTok and you listen to stuff, but the idea that I can't express my emotions, that I'm not allowed to cry, then I have to just keep moving along. Something bad happens to you, just suck it up, buttercup, and keep moving. Well, sooner or later, you can see the flaw in that, right? Sooner or later, it doesn't work anymore. And it never did. So the shadow for me becomes that aspect that is that consistent, I'm not worthy to stop and feel my pain. That is that thing. So I can take care of others, but I'm not worthy to take care of myself. My job is just to ignore my pain and keep going. So that is just one shadow. So when it's a very large shadow, but it's the idea that, it was very traumatizing, but I probably didn't even identify it as traumatizing then. It was just sort of the way it was. A bigger trauma would be like, well, we all have them, right? It could be anything from the really big ones, like sexual abuse, growing up in or physical abuse, all those things. But there's just many levels to it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And it's just a matter of recognizing what they are, know. I mean, for me, like one of my shadow selves is, and I'll just be really honest, I am a no person. Like if somebody says, do you want to go to the movies? I'm like, no. Like, I don't know why, but my reaction is always instantly no. Right. So what I've learned about that over the year is that I don't want to put anybody out. I mean, that in my head, I don't think that as it's happening, but the reason why that's happening is because, oh, no. I don't want to put anybody out. I don't want to make, and that's why that happens. That's why I became like a no person. So basically what I've been doing is one of these like TV producers or something, she wrote a book. Can't think of who it was, and she said she just decided that she was going to be a yes person for a year. So anytime anybody asked her to do anything, she was going to say yes for a year. And that completely shifted her life.
Yeah.
And I mean, can you imagine saying yes instead of no? Like for a year.
My wife is one of those yes people, right? She's got no problem saying yes. She's got no problem asking for help. She's got no problem doing any of that. And I'm the one that I could be lost on top of a mountaintop. And the one person that walks by, that probably the only one a year, and I go, no, I'm good. I'm fine. I'll find my own way. I got it.
Yeah, that's my husband's the same way. No, you're not going to ask. No, it'll be fine. Oh my
One
God.
of your questions someone said is how do shadows work? And I'd like to say the shadows I think we're using are just like a metaphor. There is another way. I'm going to give you a little bit different language. So in soul retrievals, when we're working on that. So for instance, this is a perfect example. So you're the practitioner and I come to you and I say, yeah, I just, it could be even this, I just keep saying no. I want to say yes, but I'm afraid to, I'm afraid to. So I'm working with a practitioner, and in shamanism, then what happens is we want the energy around that no. That no, what is that? And so when you go back, first of all, how does saying no make me feel? Well, I feel like I have to say no because I don't want to draw attention to myself or whatever that is, right?
Oh, sure. Whatever it is for you.
And
Yeah.
so now you go back a little bit further and you say, so I got you on the table or whatever, and give me an experience and give me a time where you think why you developed the no, come up with an example, right?
Right.
And then we just take that back. And what we find is there's these little traumas or big traumas, and then aspects of us like fractures off, almost like we're this beautiful, beautiful, piece of glass or mirror. And every time we experience a trauma, a shard goes off. And so the idea is to bring those shards back and put them in place, right? And that's where the soul retrievals come in. But I think it's just those things, the shadows that impact the way we behave and the way we, interact with others. And if there's things that keep us from, doing what we want to do in life.
Yeah. 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 That's it. I mean, what is it that's holding you back?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's complicated. That is complicated. I think, being as a woman, I think I was always taught, which is, tough because I was, I love sports. I love playing baseball. And yet I grew up in a culture where girls weren't supposed to do that. And, it was tough. I'm fighting for everything I want and then being told basically I'm not being a good girl because girls don't do that.
Yeah.
And so, what happens, that made me pull back, not want to be seen, right? There's so many other things too, but I think one of the things I'm not going to say struggle anymore. I think I am really learning to reframe my life so I'm willing to be seen.
Yeah. Ooh, that's awesome. Oh my gosh. That's a lot of work to do on yourself, I mean, that's not that in what I was talking about before. It's like the last part of your bio where you said, shifting your perspective on your own life kind of thing. Ooh,
Right.
love that.
Yeah. And so shamanism really has helped me with that. It's through the exercises, through ceremony is also really important. My wife and I just did a despacho yesterday. It's it's a piece of paper and it's a prayer bundle. So what happens is you take, and there's a technique to it, and you pray into everything. You have an intent. So yesterday our intent was to connect with Pachamama, Mother Earth. And it also was to give gratitude for all we have, but to call into right balance. So as we're putting things in, so like rice can mean prosperity. All these things have meaning. So you're putting in cookies, you're putting in flowers and leaves and all these different things. And you're creating this beautiful mandala. Right. And everything in it has a purpose. And then when you're all done, and it's all done a certain way, then you wrap it up like it's a present, and then you put a bow on it, right? And you do all these things to it, and then you can burn it, you can bury it. There's these different things you can do to it. And then you're like giving it back. If you put it in the earth, then Pachamama, she's going to eat it because she's like, oh, look at all the sweet, yum, yum. And she just loves it. And once she eats it, she's just going to release that energy so it returns. And so that's the idea, or in a fire or whatever. And the whole thing's done in ceremony. Yeah. You don't just throw it into the fire. You do a fire ceremony. Everything is done with prayer and ceremony.
Yeah. I have a question here from Sarah. She says, what is the most important part in having a shamanic journey?
Important part in having a shamanic journey. Well, that can be
interesting question, don't you think? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also trying to think how to take that. So first of all, in the shamanic journey itself, I want to tell people, let yourself off the hook. It's the same with meditating. let
Yeah.
yourself off the hook. You
Right.
know, if your mind wanders, let it wanders. If you fall asleep, fall asleep,
Exactly.
because the energy is still working. So in the journeying, and I prefer journeying over meditation. So I'll be honest, I don't sit very well, so I walk and blow into stones, or in journeying, the part is to let go of, how do I want to say this? Oh, this is silly. Nothing's going to happen. This is the right thing to happen. This is the wrong thing to happen. And just allow it to happen as it happens, if that makes sense. And When you journey, you are energetically going somewhere. So there you are, you're on the ground, I'm guiding you. Maybe I'm taking you to a lake where you're going to look at your reflection in the lake, and I'm asking you to look at your reflection, look at what you notice. What do you notice about your reflection? You're like, ooh, my hair is really shimmery in that water. And then, what do you feel disturbs you in that reflection, right? So this is all, you're in a journey, but you're still feeling it, right? You're looking, you're doing this and you're feeling it. And
Yeah.
that feeling is coming right through. And that's what we're looking to do, is to shift the energy. Or if I have you meet with a guide, and then it's that conversation with the guide, maybe it's a teaching, or all those sort of things. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Sarah, I hope that helped you, because it's about, I love that you tell people to just let themselves off the hook, because that is the one of the main questions I get. I don't know about you, but I get when we talk about meditation. Because people are like, but I always, as a matter of fact, Autumn on Instagram just said, she said, I fall asleep a lot during meditation. And it's like, you know what? Let yourself off the hook. So what? It's okay. It's all good. You're sitting. It's the act of sitting for a short period of time
Yep.
or whatever, right? And I'm assuming it's a similar concept when you're
Yeah. And it's, for me, laying down is better than sitting. Like if I had yoga and I'm doing Shavasana at the very end, I love Shavasana.
I know, right? Me too.
Oh.
My favorite part of the whole thing.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I just go, I just travel, and other times I snore, and and I just allow it to happen. Journey work is very powerful, and I think there is both where you're guided. I like, so when someone is new, I will be more actively engaged with them in the journey, right? Guiding them more. But the more I work with someone, or they know how to journey, then I only need to give them a few things to sort of have them go where they need to go. And then the drumming is there. And the drumming should have a certain pattern to it. And you don't want to be going boom, boom, beep, beep, boom, 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 boom. It's that consistent sort of, pattern
Yeah.
that you want to keep going. And that, if you're drumming, anyone knows that's like your arms and muscle. So got to cut yourself some slack if you can only do it for 5-10 minutes.
I think that's going to be my next purchase, is going to be a drum. And I know where to buy one. I know where they are. I just haven't done it yet. And well, to be honest with you, I'm putting it off for a little bit because my husband will just be like, he'll be like ready to kill himself. Because it's just going to be, because I know once I start, because it's kind of like the bowls, once I started, I have my bowls. It's like, it's gonna, you know what I mean? It's like, I just keep going, and oh my God. And my family was like,
Well,
can
I
you
have a
please
very
just stop?
good drum. I have a beautiful buffalo hide drum, but sometimes the humidity gets to it, and so it doesn't always have the best sound, because
Yeah.
it really can. And so the Remo drums, which are really cheap, I'll use those. Just I like my nice one, but sometimes the Remo is just works gret. I say,
Yeah.
do shamans believe in angels?
Oh, that's such a great question.
It is. I think this is my own opinion, and from what the people I'm around in shamanism, you got to find your own path, and it doesn't mean you have to give up what you already believe. So, and I think that is really the important part. If you believe in angels, then there, it's how do I put this? Everything's energy. Back to everything is energy. So how do we frame that energy? How do we frame that energy? It's by context. It's by the way, so if you've been taught about angels and you connect with angels, then the energy is going to come in as angels.
Right.
And it's going to connect with the framework that you are the most familiar with. I really think that's true. And then, or you've really gotten excited. You can have angels and shamanism. How about that?
You can have angels and shamanism. I love that. So that's really interesting because I didn't even know that it never dawned on me that there might not be. Because I mean, I don't know. I always kind of felt like it's just all whatever you choose to believe.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, I hate to say it that way, but that's kind of,
is it part of like Take Me On These? And I don't know, so what, like Don Mariano Quispe Flores, the mountain spirits all have personalities and have energies, and they are part of spirit. They have these little, they're called monkeys, and they're like little spirit beings. So are angels a part of their framework? No, not really. But for those of us who are learning shamanism, who come from a different background, right? Then that makes sense, right? I already have a framework for angels versus they would not, because and for me, learning like some of these other things, like the little spirit beings, and it's true, it's neat. And it's taken me a while to get used to some of the things in shamanism that were pretty foreign for me. And then I'm like, okay, like mountains having personalities, and but it's like there's so many beautiful spirit beings on so many levels, and that's just the key. So angels, makes, love your angels.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so you have an amazing, would you call it a retreat? The upcoming thing that
Don Mariano
announcements to make. Let's just say it that way.
Don Mariano Quispe Flores is coming here to my home. He's going to other places. He's coming to the States for a month. He's going to be in North Carolina, and there he will be doing, one of the things they're doing is something called the 7 layers. So everything is ceremony, and the way that you look. So it's the 7 layers of the earth. They do so many things. The Kiddo believe that the Pleiades, that's where they come from. So they're star beings. So there's a lot of star work, star energy that comes in. So anyway, they'll be doing teachings there at my house. They will, on top of, and all the healing sessions are already booked. But there are 2 workshops still open. One is the 9 temples of the heart. And that to me I'm super excited about that one, because you have your 4 chambers of your heart, which you learned about in health class. And then you have a 5th chamber. And your 5th chamber is basically your emotional chamber. And you think about fear and anger and joy. And so working on these temples in the 5th chamber, you're allowing yourself to really free yourself, to work with the anger, to loosen the energy of the anger, or to figure out how to increase the joy, right? And this is done through each of these, Don Mariano will go through a little journey to visualize, and then Don Mariano will be working while that happens. And you work with stones. So you have different 9 stones, and then you'll be using 1 stone for each of those temples. So there is all this really cool in the shamanism. Cool.
It's going to be so magical.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I took it, a couple of years ago, and it was it's one of my favorites.
I bet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So where can people find out information on that?
So my webpage, I am shamanicmedium.com. You can go there.
There you go. I am shamanicmedium.com.
Yeah.
That's such a great. That's awesome. That's great. Now, okay, so on the heels of that, we have another sort of announcement to make. This is so exciting, Lori. Aside from the fact that, okay, so we're doing a retreat together. So it's Lori, myself, Theon from evolveme.com, and Sonia Hernandez. God, I'm going to forget her last name. And we are doing a retreat in Sedona, and it is going to be so amazing. And you guys, if you were like jazzed by any of the stuff that we talked about tonight, the despacho, we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing we're going to be doing a little bit of, altering our belief system, how to, let's see. I have some of the finer points of the retreat. By the way, it's called the Infinite You Retreat, and it's June 13 through 16. And just a few of the things that we're going to be discussing and dealing with are gaining insight into utilizing meditative and mindful techniques to clear the mind and open pathways to connect with spirit. We're also going to examine how thought patterns may be constraining the possibilities you aspire to achieve. Hello. That's like the biggest thing ever. That's like
what I love is, so we're doing a little Akashic record piece, right? So we got a little Akashic record piece, and then we'll also be doing an ancestor component and a past life component. So that all will fit into that.
Yes. And it's going to be absolutely amazing. Lori, is it up on your site yet? The information?
I not completely, because we had a little link problem.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. It's on my website. So you can go to my website, laurialbert.com. And up at the top, it says the Infinite You Retreat. So you can look at all the details there, and really excited about
it. Mine soon. Yep.
Yeah. Right. Wait. So now I want to get back to your retreat though, because what are the dates of yours?
That Memorial Weekend, unfortunately, very quickly, we were supposed to have this in April, and the interpreter, who was a dear friend of all of us who were doing this, passed away suddenly. And it really, it sort of, we didn't know what was going to happen, because Don Mariano speaks Quechua, so he has to have an interpreter. So anyway, we found a new interpreter, and so they will be coming here on May 22nd, and that weekend of I'm sorry, I'm going to give you the date really quick here. Yes, we will be having the workshop on the May 25th and 26th, which is the 9 temples.
Okay, yeah. And that's all going to be in New York, right?
Yes, New York. Everything will be held at my house. Yes.
Yeah. And none of these are online, so we're not doing anything online.
No.
Either retreat that we're talking about is online. So sorry, folks. Sometimes you just have to go to New York, or you have to go to Sedona, So
yeah, please do. There's some stuff we'll definitely be doing online. I do hope to get my shamanic infusion up.
Oh, look, Lori. So this is Norma. She said, Lori, I'm looking forward to Don Mariano, and your explanation of what to expect was so clear. Oh, that's great. Awesome.
Excellent.
So that's fantastic. That's awesome.
Yeah, we are going to we're hoping we're going to do a little beginner thing. That's going to be a 2-hour thing, and I we're hoping to film that, and so then we will be able to post that for future, so people can learn about it and do that. So yeah, it's super exciting. We got a lot of stuff. The retreat, and I talked about, and Lori, you've been doing a lot of stuff for a long time. I mean, I think because I'm a career changer, I could, as a teacher, I worked in HIV/AIDS for years, and then as a special ed teacher, and in front of my kids, man, I got no fear. It's like I get them from my kids, and I can be a complete idiot, and that's all good. It's and it's actually fun to be a good to do silly things in front of them and annoy them. But anyway, no.
Yeah.
And but now it's like this being seen, this step being completely out there and letting the big world,
Yeah.
and it's like, and it's always been a thing for me to talk about shadow. I'm much more comfortable with kids than I am with grown-ups. And so learning to be comfortable with because grown-ups are so darn judgmental. Kids are judgmental too, but you just, you know, it
There's
doesn't.
there's a difference there, though. I totally understand.
Yeah, and they're so honest.
Right, right.
If you got coffee breath, the kids are gonna go, "Ew, you smell."
Yeah. Yeah. But an adult would turn around and tell their friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, but that's true. Oh my gosh. I just was remembering back that I had an experience, and I'm trying to remember the whole thing as I'm sitting here saying this, but I went on a journey. It was a taped journey. And so this lady led us on this journey, and I went to, and I don't remember which world it was. Forget which world it was, but she was saying, okay, so you're gonna, like, when you go into this place, you look for the animal that comes to meet you and greet you, kind of thing, right? So I was like, ooh, this is gonna be fun, right? So I'm sitting in meditation, and she guides us, which is so cool, right? So she guides us down, and I think it was the lower world. If I had to guess, I'm not sure. But anyway, all of a sudden I was sitting there, and all of a sudden a huge lion just was right in front of me, and I wasn't scared of it at all. It was just so magical. It was so magical because I felt like that I was one with the animal. I felt like, oh my gosh. And I was at a years ago, I was at a party one time, and this was at a very, very wealthy person's party, and they had a lion in a cage at the party. Which is insane, but whatever, whatever. But I remember walking up to that line, and of course, you can only get so close. I understand that, and I'm sure he was sedated because he was way too chill, But I was sitting there, and because I had literally just had this journey, and I had met this lion, I felt so incredibly connected to this live lion there, and it was so extraordinary that experience. Like, I felt like that he and I were talking. I felt like that he and I had this connection. I'm getting like dizzy just thinking about it because it was so much energy, and it was so beautiful. And I'll just be honest. I basically apologized to the animal that I couldn't get him out because I didn't want him to be in the cage anymore,
And so in that case, you ask yourself, what does lion have to teach me? And
Yeah.
that's where it's like you sit with that and
Yeah.
lion, what do you have to teach me? Well, lion's not afraid of anything.
Yeah.
And so lion is teaching you it's okay. Ready for this one, Lori? Ready? It's okay to roar.
Love that. Oh my God. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
You,
true.
you,
And you know
that,
what? I'm sorry, you guys. I'm having an epiphany. I'm having like this aha moment because it just dawned on me. Lions are about courage, right? I mean,
uh-huh.
they talk about courage, but forever, for like 20 years now, I've always like anybody that listens to me knows this. I talk about affirmations all the time. My personal affirmation that just gets up inside me and pushes me to do like everything in my world is, oh my God, I'm going to cry, is I am courageous. Now, isn't that crazy? Oh my God, I'm just having this moment of, okay, I'm going to have to meditate when we finish here. But I mean, on a very sort of simple level, I feel like that's kind of what shamanism is
Yeah,
about.
yeah. And embodying that. So to take that to the next, so you have an altar. So now you would get a little symbol of a lion and you would put the lion on your altar. So
Okay.
now this lion is there to show you,
Right.
you are courageous. You are not afraid. You are a predator.
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
good way, right?
Yeah.
And that's it. So when you're working with one of these animals or an animal comes in, it's like, so what are you here to teach me?
Yeah.
What is it? Why are you here? And not everyone stays. Sometimes they teach and they leave. So that is really important. When I worked at a school in the woods, and my kids used to crack up at me because every time I would hear a bird call, like an eagle or a hawk or sometimes something else, I would run outside. I was like, guys, okay, go outside. And I'd be out there and I'd be making my bird sounds. And sure enough, I get that eagle circling around overhead, and the kids are just cracking up. But it ended up to be the coolest connection between us. And I worked for a school that does birds of prey. They have they rescue, so it's actually got a condor there and all the stuff. And so whenever the kids and I would be around there, we get to the birds and they'd be like, Miss Sheffer, do your thing, do your thing.
Oh my God, that's so cool. That is so cool. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I just want to sort of, because we're like overtime, which is
Okay.
fine, I'm sure. But it's like, I think this is a great way to just kind of sum it all up. If you open your heart to all these experiences. Like a lot of you mentioned, like a lot of you that I'm seeing comments by mentioned that you felt really connected to the earth, or you connect, all that kind of stuff. If you open your heart, it's right there waiting for you. It's just, do you have it? And I would love if you would sort of close this out, Lori, if you could just kind of say a few words or maybe a little to finish the ceremony. I feel like that
Sure.
is there a couple little things that you can say? And I know I just totally put you on the spot.
Well, no, I was say this to go to energy. So, all of you are, some of you have been making some comments, and some of you are just watching. However, because we're dealing with energy, we can still reach out to each other. So, just envision that you can hear my hands, and my beautiful, beautiful energy is just radiating towards you. And as you do, put your love out there, put your energy back. And just envision this beautiful pool of energy that's just circling around. And sort of anything that is not meant to be there, we just let that go away. Just this energy of love and light. And knowing that we all have things to work on. Our hearts are these massive spaces with multitudes of room. And now take the opportunity to envision that the windows in your heart are opening up a little. And so here we go. Love and light, love and light. You are love, you are light. And I thank you for this time we spent together.
Oh, that was so beautiful, Lori. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate you being here. So you can reach Lori at iamshamanicmedium.com. You can learn about her retreat. You can learn all about her services. She does a lot of different things. So go learn about her. She's an extraordinary human being. And I know that to be so true because I know her. She's a friend. Yeah. And if you're interested in the Infinite You retreat, you can go to my website, laurialbert.com, and look for at the top where it says the Infinite You retreat. And if you have any questions, you can always email us. So much love to you all. I wish you all a perfect evening. And thank you so much for being here, everybody.